Bigweed here. Today we review an IPA and discuss the opioid epidemic. Hello and welcome to Beer and Conversation with Bigweed and Crow Hill. Good evening, Crow Hill.
Good evening, Pigweed.
What's on your mind?
Well, I was heading over to the legal weed store the other day.
Okay.
Not for myself. I was
had a friend who needed a ride.
yeah. So I was going to the legal weed store and I saw this big sign out front that said "Guaranteed fentanyl free."
Hey, that's not a bad pitch.
Yeah. There's this rumor going around, and I'm not sure if it's true or false, that if you buy weed on the street, it might be laced with fentanyl. And the question then would become, is it intentionally laced with fentanyl, or is it accidentally laced with fentanyl,
Yes.
or what?
Right. Well, because, I would think that even your less than savvy drug marketer would know not to kill your purchase.
You would certainly try. But you can easily imagine if there's some facility processing drugs and they got fentanyl over there and they've got weed over here, a couple of grains of that stuff getting into a baggie is very easy.
Little cross-contamination.
Yeah, and that's all you need. But anyway, so...
All right, so, or is it just a government conspiracy to get you to buy weed at the government store?
Yeah, or is it just a bunch of blue-haired ladies being, coming up with...
Just the latest panic.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like there's LSD in the water supply. All right, so what have we got here?
Yeah, what do we have here? It's Wicked Hardcore.
Wicked Hazy Sam Adams New England IPA. Juicy New England IPA.
All right, so it's supposed to be juicy. It's supposed to be fruity. It's got fruity aromas.
Yes, it does.
What do we have there?
A little bit hazy on the color.
Hazy, of course.
Kind of almost looks like a glass of orange juice.
And they supposed to be looking for some pineapples and some
mango, I think.
Mango.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, I do taste a little bit of mango kind of flavor in there.
Well,
Generally speaking, I'm not a huge fan of the hazy IPA craze, but some of them are pretty good. This one's pretty good. I like this.
It is indeed fruity.
Yeah.
Interesting, and not in a fruity that comes from the hops.
From the hops, apparently, which is amazing. How many flavors you can get out of different varieties of hops.
You wouldn't think, and because they'll tell you that sometimes they are fortified with flavors,
right?
But
this
they
one's
don't
just
say
from
anything
the hops,
about it.
right?
Just whatever hops they use, they didn't give away the secrets, did they?
Think about all the different.
No.
So what have you got? You got water, malt, hops, and yeast. Those are your 4 ingredients, and you can make 10,000 different styles of beer out of that.
Right?
It's just amazing, absolutely amazing. Okay, so what are we talking about here today?
Well, we're talking about the opioid epidemic and a big pharma.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say something about big pharma or corporation. The word corporation.
Okay.
Because I am as far as you can be from a corporate, of what you would call a corporate guy. If you divided the workplace into corporations and the little guy.
Yeah.
I'm the little guy. I've never worn a tie to work. I've never ridden an elevator to my office. I don't refer to my coworkers as colleagues. All right, so I'm definitely not that. That's not that
probably
guy.
No DEI anyway.
Right.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean when I hear corporation that I think of greedy, evil, distant entities that don't pay their fair share of taxes.
Well, that's good, because my business is an LLC, a limited liability corporation.
When I think of large companies and corporations, I think of them as the leaders of an innovation and competition, and they're competing to produce the best product at the best price.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of capitalism. Big pharma is not a negative word to me. When I think of big pharma, pharmaceutical companies invest billions of dollars to create a life-saving drug that may take 10 years to get to the market. If they've got to recoup this money. It takes a lot to get something approved of, and then to say those greedy pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So have your root canal without any medication. How about that?
Right. what other incentive structure are you going to create?
Yeah.
No, just the goodness of the government will take care of this for us.
I heard a very interesting comment the other day about the extent to which there's corruption in the market, in the capitalist system.
Yeah.
And the comment was, well, there's some, obviously. There are people who cheat, and there are people who steal, and there are people who do things bad. But generally speaking, that's not true. And the way you know that's not true is because things work.
Yeah.
You turn on the light and the light comes on. You go to the gas station and gasoline comes out of the pump. Like you go to the grocery store and there's meat in the meat aisle.
Yeah.
So generally speaking,
the invisible hand is taking care of these things.
Generally speaking, people are doing their jobs. They're being honest. They're doing the right stuff, and things actually work.
Right.
And the reason we have a prosperous, successful society is because all these corporations are doing an honest, decent job.
Yes, right. Like we were saying about the drug dealer killing off his customers.
Yeah.
You have to please. That's the whole. It's all built on providing a good or a service that somebody wants.
Yeah. By the way, I've never been within a mile of a legal weed dispensary. Just set
Get
the
that
record
out there.
straight.
All right, but look, I'm sure there are numerous rotten mom and pop companies. You know what I mean? That are jerks. They don't care about their employees or the consequences of how they run their business.
Right.
However, when large corporations are greedy, careless, and indifferent, the fallout can be devastating.
Yeah, it can hurt a whole lot of people.
I present to you the Sackler family.
Yes.
And Purdue Pharmaceutical. So I don't know. How do you want to get into this here?
So, well, just a little bit of background. They started off relatively small, right? I mean, they had a couple of businesses. They were doing okay. They were making millions, but not. I mean, it wasn't a huge corporation.
Right.
And
the
then
Sacklers, the Purdue had been around since the 19th century.
Yeah.
And the Sacklers bought it like in the 50s or something like that.
Yeah, and then there was like a change of ownership. The old man died.
Yes.
The young man took over,
Yes.
and he was like, wanted to drive and make this. And he wanted to say, look, people operate on two things. There's pleasure and pain. Pleasure and pain. Well, let's take advantage of that and make a product. And he drove this business in a bad direction.
Yes, but so there was a couple things going on when OxyContin came out. There was a new class of drug, the opioid. And there was also a new thinking in the medical field with respect to pain.
Yes.
It's kind of like, look, if you can alleviate the pain, that's part of your job, doc.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of shift in the culture with a nudge from pharma.
Yeah.
But hey, it makes sense.
So
right?
a friend of mine was studying to be a doctor at that time, and he said that what they taught you in medical school at that time.
You're talking early 90s, right?
Yeah. They taught you that if somebody's in pain, it's your responsibility to take care of that pain.
Right.
That's part of what your job is as a doctor, is to help them overcome that pain. So now the question I suppose you could ask is, did Big Pharma lean on the doctors, lean on the medical schools to go in that direction? I suppose that's a possibility, but the whole medical industry was behind this idea that if somebody's in pain, you should solve that. And we have the tools to do it, so why not?
Yeah. And, that makes sense.
It does make sense.
You can't send people home with morphine drips, like some, like a dying patient in a hospital or, a cancer patient.
And also pain, if you're in a lot of pain, you don't heal as well. So, like, getting rid of the pain is actually part of the healing process in a lot of ways, in certain situations. I've had a couple surgeries where I went home with opioids, and I have to say that I'm really glad that my doctors were strict about it, and they were.
Well, that's it. And okay, well, they weren't always.
No.
Right? So that's because even in the time that I've occasionally thrown my back out, it's never chopping wood or lifting a couch.
I know. It's like you grab a pencil and all of a sudden your back goes out.
Well, one day my son was a toddler. I was putting socks on, and before I could get the second sock on, I was on the floor calling for help.
So my theory on that is like you do something else that throws your back out, but you don't really feel it yet. And then you do some little thing that just tweaks it just enough.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all of a sudden. Happens
So
to me. Yeah.
in the span of, my adult life, they were freely giving out the opioids to they weren't.
Right.
I was like, gosh,
now it's tough.
Right. And these were spans of, like 5 years apart, whatever.
Yeah.
It was bad enough to actually go see the doctor.
That's right.
Mostly I just lay on the floor for a day and, until I feel better. Then I discovered one was a muscle relaxant and then the opioid.
Right.
And then, like, when I went back 5 years later, like, Tylenol 3.
Yeah.
All right,
Right.
it's not what I remember, but so the memo had gotten out. And,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So when I was taking the drugs after my ACL surgery, I was taking them prophylactically before I went to physical therapy. I would take them because I wanted to be able
does that mean in your anus? No.
No.
Oh.
I was taking them to make sure that I didn't have pain in physical therapy, so I could do the exercises I need to do in physical therapy. And I started to realize that I just felt good after I wasn't high or anything. I just felt good. And if I could have kept taking them, I would have kept taking them. Yes. But the docs, cut me off, and that was that.
Right. The doctor, if all you had to do is go, doc, still feel a little rough in there. All right, here's another 90.
Right. No, my doctors were very strict.
Okay, I remember. Mrs. Pigweed is impervious to drugs. That just the painkillers don't help. And I remember she said, these things suck. I'm like, well, what are these things? And I'm like, all right. I was already 3 beers in. I said, oh, I'll try one of these. Gee, I melted into the couch. I couldn't speak.
Right.
And kind of felt great.
Yeah.
And I'm going, all right, I see the problem here.
Yes, it is a problem. It is a problem. Yeah. The funny thing was, I was taking relatively high doses of this stuff and never got high from it because apparently, like, if you have a lot of pain, all it's doing is taking away the pain. If you don't have any pain and you take it, you get high, or
right.
Something along those lines. I don't know.
Right. So let's get to oxycodone. Oxycontin.
Yeah,
so
right.
The oxycodone, tell me if I got this right, is fast acting. So you've just had surgery and you need this stuff. Mm-hmm. The OxyContin has an extra coating around it that gives it a slow release so that you can just take one every 12 hours. Once they've sent you, you're no longer in the hospital. You're no longer getting the heavy drugs.
Right.
This is just a little bit of maintenance to help you get through your day, and then, of course, we'll wean you off that. Or will we?
Right. Yeah, and then, so people also react very differently to drugs. I was riding the train one day with this guy who was a specialist in pain medication. And I had, 25 minutes to chat with him on the train. And he was saying that everybody has a very different reaction to pain medication. Yeah. Some people, aspirin works. Some people, Tylenol works. Some people, ibuprofen works. Right. And it's just no telling.
Right. Some of them, right. Make one kind. My brother had a surgery. He completely broke out in hives all over. They're like, oh, that was the Percocet.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
Whatever.
Right. Yeah. So I'm sure the same thing is true with these other crazy drugs. And some people are more likely to get addicted to them than other people. And when you have surgery, you have a legit reason to take it, and you take it, and then the doctor cuts you off. What are you going to do?
All right. Let's implicate Big Pharma here a little bit. They seem to be first off. There was a team of Playboy bunnies in the. Did you watch the Purdue special?
I watched some of it.
Yeah. Apparently that, and the other thing I watched also was the same kind of a thing. It was all about schmoozing the doctors.
Yeah.
And, a tight skirt and a pamphlet go a long way when this pamphlet has this oft-repeated study of how non-addictive this drug was. Mm-hmm. Only to find out later, it's true that study was legit, but it's not nearly what you think. It's not at all what you think it is. Mm-hmm. It was 200 people, close supervision, with people recovering from cancer. Mm-hmm. A lot of the people died in the study. So
hard for them to get addicted.
Hard for them to get addicted.
Yeah.
The doctors weren't just upping doses and giving them out like candy.
Right.
And so, yes, within this controlled study, it was true. 1% of the people.
Which created the impression that it's a safe drug, that you don't have to worry about.
And they used this to kind of push it through FDA.
Right.
And to sell it to doctors. And that's how it's... Then the doctors started getting kickbacks.
Right.
So there was the speaker fee events.
Right.
And kickbacks, where doctors are encouraged to just prescribe.
Plus, every time they look at that brochure on the counter, they remember the Playboy bunny. And
and when is she coming back in?
Right.
And she'll go back in, and who knows what? And maybe, you know what? We're having a little...
A
get-together in Miami.
Yeah.
How would you like to go, Doc?
Sure.
Okay, sure.
It's informational.
And yes, right.
It's educational.
And they are...
Get your continuing education credits here. Yeah.
Yes, and they are selling more and more
of
the drug. And then they get it... So I think initially approved for cancer patients.
Right.
And... I don't know if did they get additional, what do they call, approval from the FDA for other things, or were they just encouraging the doctors were just like...
Well, apparently they were encouraging the doctors. Another thing that they didn't do was they didn't track their inventory well enough. So a lot of product was getting diverted to the black market. And what they should have been doing was tracking, this is how much we produced, this is how much showed up at the doctor, this is how much was prescribed. So they could make sure that they knew where it was going. But they didn't do that, and a lot of the drugs ended up on the black market. And that was something that there should have been tighter controls around that to make sure that these drugs weren't leaking out of the system.
Yes, so they just discovered very quickly this... All you had to do was crush up the pill and snort it, and that time release
went away.
Went away, right?
Yeah.
So the time release thing was true. It did work. So that's why initially, before I really understood this, I'm like, what are you beating up on the big pharma if they make a great drug for these specific uses, and then other people use them for other uses?
Yeah, that's not their fault.
That's not their fault.
But in this case, there was some blame.
Yes, there was some blame. I did, the more I looked into it, the more I was like, you knew this was going on, and you were completely okay with
let's take this kind of up a level of abstraction here. Sometimes you're watching TV, watching the news or something, and you see advertisements for drugs, right? How many countries in the world do that?
It's everybody, right?
No, 2. 2 countries in the world, the United States and New Zealand. Right. Only countries in the world that allow pharmaceuticals to be advertised.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you brought this up because I don't understand it. I can't imagine suffering from psoriasis and thinking to myself, I bet this TV ad guy knows more about it than my own doctor.
Yeah, I know.
And I'll go in there, Doc, have you watched TV lately and noticed that there's an advertisement for this drug? I want you to give me that drug. I mean, I feel like he already knows that drug's available, and he's either giving it, he's not giving it to me for some reason.
Right. So I have the exact same reaction. I can't imagine. I can't imagine going to my doctor and saying, "Hey, how about this drug?" I mean, I suppose if the doctor's giving me the drug, I might ask a question. Well, there's this other one. What's the difference?
Yeah, exactly. I saw this thing on TV. What's the deal with that? Yeah. I'm not going to catch him blindside and go, I never heard of it. Here, let me get you that.
Right. Exactly. And I'm not going to go into the doctor saying, I need the purple pill or whatever.
Yes.
Remember those ads? They didn't even tell you what it was for. Or what
there's a disclaimer about all the terrible side effects.
Right.
Well,
do you see these smiling people taking the purple pill? I don't know what that is. But I completely agree. I don't understand that. But apparently that's what happens. People see these ads. And not Pigweed and Crowhill, other people see these ads and go into their doctor and say, I think I need Xarelto or whatever the heck they're advertising on the television.
Yeah. And I would expect any doctor to go, I'm fully aware. No, I'm aware of Xaltra.
See this doctor patch on my shoulder?
Yes. I don't think that this is what's going. That's not
What you really need
for
is
you
this other one.
because these you're already taking this.
Yes.
You're overweight, whatever it is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I would absolutely trust the doctor to know the drugs way better than me watching a commercial knows the drugs. But apparently that's the way it goes.
Yeah. I mean, they wouldn't be spending so much money on advertising.
So I would want to just stop for a minute and think about what does the fact that pharma can advertise on TV, what does that tell us about the effect on Congress and the effect on media? Right? So the effect on Congress, it means that somehow Big Pharma has enough of an influence on Congress to get them to make this exception, where only 2 countries in the world make this exception. So obviously they have some pull with Congress. And then it has an effect on media in that media is getting all this advertising money from Big Pharma,
right.
And they don't want to upset Big Pharma. They don't want to do an expose about how bad Big Pharma is because that's where they're getting their money.
Yeah, but why? And also, why would there be? I mean, why would anybody think that there needs to be a restriction on? Now, not opioids. Actually, I don't ever remember seeing Oxycontin advertised on TV.
No.
But if it's for toe fungus, I mean, why would Congress feel the need? I guess. Unlike the rest of the world, to step in and say, well, you're not allowed to advertise toe fungus on television. I mean, they're not allowed to advertise in magazines or anywhere. Or you're saying on television? On
television, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure what all the restrictions are, but I think maybe one side of it is that the pharmaceutical companies have so much money, and this is there's a dangerous thing that they're a potentially dangerous thing that they're promoting, and that's something that doctors should really be making decisions about. Consumers should not. So. It's something like that. That's why like England doesn't allow them to do it, because the consumer, Joe Bob watching the television, shouldn't be deciding this is what I want. And also there is the effect, you do want the media to be the one who goes out and finds that there's corruption, and now that could apply to a whole bunch of other industries than just Big Pharma.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly what the logic is behind it, but it is pretty interesting that we're one of 2 countries that do
something.
that.
I'm not
exactly.
exactly sure. I mean, what there was a time. So cigarettes aren't advertised on television,
right? And
liquor wasn't advertised until about 10 years ago.
Yeah, they changed that too.
Right, our whole lives, their beer was advertised on television. Or anywhere, like billboards, not even billboards,
right? Yeah.
And now there's nothing. You see Johnny Walker and Smirnoff and whatever.
Everything all over the place.
I wonder how that fell apart.
I don't know.
All right. Well, there's a show
another topic. Right. Yeah. So they Purdue Pharma marketed OxyContin as a non-addictive pain reliever, knowing that it was false, and they had internal studies. Even though they had internal studies showing that it was highly addictive, they had this one that they bandied around saying that wasn't addictive, and that got us partially into this whole craze where people were overprescribing.
So what were the transgressions that got them in trouble? Now there's a $6 billion settlement.
Yeah,
that's still being held up. It's been sitting there for years. But what were the transgressions, and what are they admitting to?
Well, one thing, I think they're admitting to the fact that they were covering up information about the fact that it was addictive, and that they did these kickbacks for doctors, and that they were pressuring people to prescribe more opioids. In 1991, there were 76 million opioid prescriptions written. By 2012, that number had increased to 259 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite a big increase there. So it was. And that led to more addiction and more overdose deaths because people were, there's a lot more opioids out there. So I think what they're copping to is, yes, we deceived the public about the fact whether it was addictive, and yes, we pressured doctors to prescribe it too much.
Right. Yes, and like we were saying, that there was a little in the 90s. There was that. Like you said, here you go. This links precisely what you were talking about. They lobbied to have pain recognized as the fifth vital sign.
Yeah.
And urged patients to, physicians to be more liberal in prescribing the opioids.
And that's how we got the whole pain assessment thing. What's your pain on a scale of 1 to 10 and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
Right. So 3 out of 4, I thought this is an interesting statistics. 3 out of 4 heroin users started with prescription pain meds. And then, they weren't getting enough one way or another, and they ended up on the street taking heroin.
Right. So heroin had kind of fallen out of favor. It was...
Yeah.
We had... Heroin was like a low class urban 70s drug.
Right.
And then you had kind of a cool hipster cocaine thing that people weren't that worried about. Wall Streeters and their, disco drug.
Yeah.
Not that big, wasn't wrecking the country with,
right.
Bodies weren't on the ground. And then the opioids came along.
Right.
And, so I think after the recognition, the whole industry was just like, all right, we have been overprescribing. Either with good either we're going to go to jail if we get caught,
right?
Or just sort of the recognition of all right,
this
pain management thing is going a little bit too far,
right? So then, unfortunately, they seem to have cut back too much because there are people who have chronic pain.
Yes.
And that needs to be dealt with, and apparently they went from a situation where the drugs were being given out too frequently to a situation now where it's kind of hard to get the meds that you need. So you get to the point where, just like I did with my doctors, they cut you off. And you
went immediately out to the streets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, in my case, it was fine. Okay, I stopped taking them. No big deal.
Right.
But for some people, they still have the chronic pain. What are they going to do? They go out and they buy heroin, except nowadays it's not heroin.
Yes.
Nowadays it's fentanyl.
Right. So that's the problem. So now that fentanyl has been either cut with or just filling the need because it's cheap and easy and a better high, if that's what kind of higher look. If drooling on yourself on a public street is your idea of a good time, then that it's the good stuff.
And so what's happened is we see this. I've got a chart in front of us here. National drug-involved overdose deaths. And you go back to 1999, and there's, something shy of 20,000. And you see this steady increase up until about 2016. And then it really starts to climb. 2021, it's 106,000.
Total overdose deaths.
Right. This actually might be in thousands, so that couldn't possibly be true.
100,000.
107,000 deaths. And a lot of this is, if you look at this other chart, it shows what they're overdosing on. And, you look at cocaine, not that many.
The numbers are fairly flat for 20 years.
For everything. And then all of a sudden they rocket up right around 2015, 2016, and that's the synthetics.
Yes.
That's primarily fentanyl. And you just see this line going way high here. So there's this huge problem with fentanyl that's cheap, and apparently it's effective, and that's what you get.
All right. So on the topic of the show, let me ask this question about the overlap that fentanyl. The big pharma isn't pushing fentanyl into the market.
Right.
Okay. If this is an illegal drug.
Yeah.
It's legal, but it's what's on the street is illegal.
Yeah, legit doctors will use it correctly in the right situation. Yeah.
Yes. So my question is, did Big Pharma create a potential group that would not have been there otherwise? So the guy with the back pain, the guy who, maybe he did like to smoke weed and, stored cocaine, he was a party guy, he would never have crossed that line. But once he got into, was Big Pharma responsible for hooking for heroin overdoses and fentanyl overdoses that would not have been there otherwise because they'd created this new
Or was
Mark,
it the drug dealers who started pushing this stuff? Hey, try this new thing, and apparently it's very addictive. And one thing that's interesting is all these things that we're talking about, all these issues with people needing pain medications to go on the street, are true in other countries too. But if you look at this chart, oxycodone consumption,
all right,
you see in Europe from 1980 to 2015. It's pretty much flat. It goes up a tiny little bit. In the United States, it just rockets. It goes way, way, way higher than it is in Europe.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I think it's part of what you were saying before with, Big Pharma was promoting it as a non-addictive drug. But so this question, though, now...
But you would think that the medical industry...
Yeah.
It's not in a bubble here in the United States. People know what other countries are doing. There's there's always back and forth. And did they ever look in either one's direction and go, "What's going on over there?
Yeah.
What's not going on over there?"
Yeah, well, it's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, you figure they're international conferences. They talk to one another. And they get
they're
statistics.
Like, oxycodone? Yeah, really.
Don't you guys have a problem?
That's not really a thing here in Germany. I'm not sure what's going on over there.
Yeah, why do you guys have such a problem over there?
Yeah.
You'd think that somebody would, in a position of authority, would look at this and say,
not overdose. This is consumption.
This is just consumption.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you'd think that somebody would look at this chart and say, hey, wait a minute, maybe we should rethink this.
Right.
It's probably not true that
How
people
are they
in the
dealing
U.S.
with it?
are having way more pain than people everywhere else in the world.
Yes.
You know?
Right. What's your pain level? Everybody's going 10. It's just, the Americans, I don't know, we're something in America. We just
It just
can't tolerate
causes
pain.
way more pain. Yeah. Everybody in America is playing football, and they just have a lot of pain. So I guess there's a bunch of levels at which people let us down. The big pharma, obviously the criminals at Purdue let us down.
Yeah.
But the FDA probably should have been watching us a little closer, and the doctors could have been watching us a little closer.
Well, according to the Netflix pain. What was it? Painkiller.
Painkiller, yeah.
They schmoozed the guy at the FDA who approved it.
Yeah.
Who then later became an executive.
Of course.
Yeah. Right. So,
yeah, there's that whole revolving door problem of people
yes.
going from government to industry and back. Yeah, and that is a huge problem.
So was he him going easy on OxyContin or facilitating its approval?
Right.
Was he rewarded with a big fat job?
Yeah.
After he.
Yeah. So how about this? How about this now? The close relationship between Big Pharma and Congress, did that contribute to the way we handled COVID? Because you've got this situation where Congress is basically in the back pocket of Big Pharma, and Big Pharma is saying, hey, we have this great opportunity to make a bunch of money. Make everybody have to take these shots,
I got an idea. How about a product that every person on the planet needs to take?
5 times. For the forever. And once a year.
But only for the good of humanity,
yes.
Of course.
Yes. Yeah. So, there are some legit questions about
they don't have to take it. They just can't leave their house.
That's right. You're fine. You don't have to take it. Just stay home.
Yeah, you can never travel, go to work, or even grocery shop.
And your house will be marked so that not even the pizza delivery guy will show up because you're dangerous. Yeah. So, there are legit questions about what's going on with these kickbacks.
And the coziness.
Yeah.
And like you say, then the revolving door, right? The guy who leaves Congress, who had been very friendly to Big Pharma, and what do you know? Now he's on the board of some pharma company.
And he knows how to get along with all the guys back.
But he doesn't know anything about medicine, but that's not important.
That's right. Yeah, so how do you think this relates to the current fentanyl crisis and the problem we have now with, tons of people ODing on fentanyl and dying on the street and all that kind of mess? Yes,
no, it's not related. That's the relationship that I was trying to draw, was that we have created that big pharma created a market
Yeah.
that was later filled by fentanyl.
Yeah.
That who knows, that fentanyl in itself and its own cheapness and whatever might have created its own market.
Yeah.
But like, you can't deny that there's some overlap there, because this is mostly coming from China through Mexico, and not good.
No, not good. And I would be in favor of some pretty strict laws to, deal with people who are dealing fentanyl.
Yeah.
Because it's a deadly drug.
I think my understanding is that they have gotten cooperation from China.
Some. Yeah, there's some cooperation, which is surprising.
But cooperation in this sense, we're not going to... China's not shipping fentanyl to Mexico.
Just the precursors.
Exactly.
Yes.
And they're like, all of these precursors have their own legitimate uses. You can't just say, you're not allowed to ship this thing. Yeah, but we use that for 25 other things.
Right, yeah.
So in that sense, they're at least not shipping it directly there, but they've already trained the cartel how to...
They're shipping the precursors with some instructions. Yeah. Mix this and then this.
Yes, and since there's no interest in stopping people from coming across the border, then it makes stopping drugs coming across the border even harder.
Yeah. All right, so we have this ugly situation, and I would like to say let's have a serious crackdown on fentanyl. Maybe some serious penalties for people dealing it. And
now, at this, I would say that drug dealers don't want to kill their customers, but if you're dealing fentanyl,
you're essentially
you've probably killed somebody.
Yeah.
So, what's a wanton disregard for life?
Manslaughter, I guess.
Manslaughter. Yeah. So
reckless endangerment, all that kind of stuff.
I would say that the penalties need to go from drug dealing to something more like that.
Exactly. If I have some substance, whatever it is, that I know might kill 1 in 100 people. I'm handing out Halloween candy, and I know that 1 of 100 of my Halloween candy things might kill somebody.
Right. And you say, you go, I think I should just be charged with possession of poison. Yeah. Well, no.
No. It's worse than that.
Yes. And so
people who are dealing fentanyl, I think we ought to hang them. It should be a serious offense.
Now, did you see that there was one of the big cartels was putting on a big show, I don't know if it's legit or not, about stopping fentanyl production within its own ranks.
Really?
Yes.
And what were they going to replace it with?
They've got all the other drugs, and
what about the classy bootleggers? They made all their millions just selling rum from Canada. What's wrong with that? Why can't we go back to that?
Yeah, I guess they're losing out on the weed market.
Yeah.
The cocaine market.
It's gone.
Right. Isn't there unless it's spiked with fentanyl.
All it is fentanyl on this other zombie thing, whatever that is. Oh, it's pretty gross.
Yes, with all the open sores and everything.
It's awful. It's awful. Yeah, it's awful. Okay, so that's it for drug crisis. You got anything else for us? Maybe something a little more...
you want something upbeat or
something a little upbeat? Maybe. You got anything nice? A man of the week or?
All right, I got 2 things. I got a man of the week. This one's not as terrible, I don't think.
Okay, all right, here we go. Something that's not as nasty as people taking drugs and getting sores all over their body and then laying in the street and dying of the horrible things. I told you about the. Go ahead.
So my man of the week is women jiu-jitsu fighters.
Okay, I've met a few.
Yeah, are they pretty tough?
Well, some of them are, yeah.
The North American Grappling Association.
Yeah, Gracie team and all those guys.
Yes, but the women. Mm-hmm. Who would have thought? The women said, "We're not fighting men."
Yeah, well, there's good reason.
Isn't that a pretty good? Right?
Yeah.
So they just bowed out of the tournament altogether.
Fantastic.
And
because there were trans people in the.
Yes.
Yes.
So, my question is, how is it that this bizarre ideology
Yeah.
has infected even down to, it's not just, at the federal level.
Right.
At any level.
Every level of society, they're trying to force this nonsense on us. And this whole thing, when did it happen? It happened like in the last 2 years or something.
Yeah.
Nobody ever thought of this, anything so crazy. And now all of a sudden you're going to have this, you have all these women wrestlers and they weigh, 135 pounds or something. And then you got this 200-pound dude who walks in and says, oh, I'm really a woman and I should be able to wrestle with you too. It's crazy.
So why did it take women boycotting events?
Yeah.
Why couldn't it just being a sensible human being and going, well, of course we're not going to put our girls up against these fake women.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so so it actually took.
I almost
them
wish
saying
I was.
We're not going to fight.
I almost wish I used to be a referee at swim meets, and I almost wish I was still doing that so that I could say no, sorry.
So you can just disqualify people.
No, you can't do that. I'm sorry. Yeah, but it is crazy, and I'm glad that some women are standing up and saying that we're not going to put up with this.
But of course. It wasn't the
totally disadvantages all these women. Now they can't participate. They can't participate in the contest.
But it's not the council who exists for that very purpose.
Yeah.
You can't rely on them.
No.
You actually had to quit and boycott the thing for them to go, okay, well maybe now we'll re-examine our rules.
Yeah.
Really? What is this what it took?
I know. It's terrible. It's the people in power, the people who run the thing should have said, no, this is stupid. You can't do that. We have to separate men and women's sports for a reason, because men are bigger and stronger, and it's just not fair.
All right. So so you women who refuse to compete against men in a women's event are once again, I don't know why we have to keep giving out the man of the week to women, to women, and to most obvious.
Yes.
People not doing anything outstanding except for being normal.
Being normal and doing something sensible. That's right.
Thank
All right.
you, ladies.
Cheers. Thanks so much for listening to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crowhill. Remember to visit us at pigweedandcrowhill.com or send us an email at pigweedshow@gmail.com.